Tree diagrams are a useful tool for philosophers, intellectuals, and others. I'll give you a quick introduction. Here's a tree. This one's a grammar tree. Here's another grammar tree. Trees can be animated. We'll remove it, and then animate how it's put together. This one's an arithmetic tree. We'll get to how they work soon. This is a tree about making trees. It's really big, so you can't really read it. Let's zoom in. And I'll show the rest of it. Trees can contain ideas. Here's a more complicated idea tree. It uses summary ideas to make layers of abstraction of higher and lower level ideas. You can have ideas built out of previous ideas, and summary ideas can help organize that. Here's a closer look. To talk about trees, you need to know a bit of terminology. The boxes are called nodes. Each thing in a tree is a node. Trees consist of nodes and relationships. The lines between nodes show the relationships. We call the top node the parent and the bottom node the child. Trees can potentially be oriented in other directions, such as left to right. There's more terminology based on family trees. A node has ancestors and descendants. For node 5, its descendants are node 6, and its ancestors are everything back to the first node. So nodes 1 and 2. Its siblings, it doesn't have any siblings. Node 7, on the other hand, has a sibling, which is node 8. A sibling is a node that has the same parent. Node 8 is a grandchild of node 1. Node 1 is its grandparent. A node with no parents is called the root or head node. A tree only has one root. A node with no children is called a leaf or terminal node. The leaves of this tree are 6, 7, 8, and 4. A tree contains trees within it, called subtrees. Suppose that node 3 was the root. Then you would have only these nodes in the tree, the other ones would be left out. So this is a subtree. For a subtree, you just pick a different root node, and then ignore everything attached above it, and include everything attached below it. So it lets you look at a section of the tree. A branch is also another way of talking about a part of a tree. If we say the branch node 5 is on, that would include its ancestors and its descendants. But it would not include these other nodes over here that are neither ancestors nor descendants. It can be vague, however. Sometimes some of the other nodes would be included when someone's trying to talk about a branch. If you said the branch that node 7 is on, it's possible that you meant to include node 8 as well. You're like, well, there's the node 2 branch, the node 3 branch, and the node 4 branch. Like 1, 2, and 3. And with these 3 main branches, you want the one that includes node 7. So you also see it as including node 8. But on the other hand, you might say the node 7 branch and not include node 8. One more concept is the level of a node. So the root is at level 0, and then its children are level 1. So we have level 1, 1, 1, and then their children are level 2, 2, 2, and the next one's level 3. So the level is how far away from the root node are you? Node 2 is distance 1 away from the root. Node 5 is a distance of 2 away from the root. It is also possible to do 1-based counting. Instead of labeling the root node 0, you would label it 1, and then all the numbers would be 1 larger. It's important to understand what the relationships between nodes means. So there are a bunch of different ways to think about it. It can represent lots of different things, but they all have some level of similarity. So it can be parent and child. It can be a whole with a part, pieces, or components. You can look at the bigger picture and the smaller picture, less and more detailed, independent things and dependent things, a group or category versus its members, higher level versus lower level, a concept with examples, a skill with prerequisites. That, along with seeing example trees and working with them, should give you a decent idea of what can be a child of what. There are many types of trees. They can be used for grammar, math, programming, outlines, debates, concepts, and mind maps, for example. So I'll quickly teach you how to do concept trees. You can start with one concept you're interested in. Here we have animal. And then you can think to yourself, okay, what could be a child of animal? What could be a subpart of animal or a sub-concept? There are many different right answers here. One way to do it is you could come up with specific animals. So we'll do a duck. And then we'll add another child, a dog. And we can do another one. And you can keep going as much as you want. It depends what your goal is. So now we'll illustrate making the tree taller. So we can take dog and think about children of dog. What are some types of dogs? We could have a poodle or a pit bull. You can also go in the other direction and work up. What could an animal be a child of? What is a bigger picture thing that animal fits into? So I came up with living thing. And you can go back down again. So what else could go under living thing besides animal? I put plant. And then I went up again. Living thing is a child of physical thing. And then I gave physical thing a second child, mineral. So you can create your own concept tree. Just come up with some concept and then think of something higher level and something lower level and expand your tree. Doing this can help organize your thoughts on a topic. Now let's look at a bunch of example trees, just to give you a general idea of what trees can look like. These are fairly biased towards things that are relevant to philosophy. They're all trees that I've made. Some of them are pretty big, so you're not going to be able to read much, but you can still see some of the structure. Here's the root node. This is a horizontal tree. And you can see there are 3 major branches. 3 main sections. So even if you don't know what's in the sections, you know something about the tree and how it's organized into 3 major parts. This one is a grammar tree analyzing a sentence. This is actually 2 trees. There is a gap right here. Oh, actually, it's 3 trees. There's a gap here as well. These trees teach about project planning. Here's a tree from a different app. This one is MindNode again. This one covers Austrian economics and some objections to it and some counter-objections. It's a state of the debate tree that tries to capture what the arguments and counter-arguments are for a topic. This one is about the world's most important problem, which according to this tree is bad thinking right here, which is related to many other things above and below it. These extra arrows sometimes actually violate the rules of a tree. So one of the special rules that trees have is that a node can only have one parent. If you have multiple parents for a node, then it's called a graph, not a tree. So, for example, down here, this node actually has two parents if we count this arrow. Or we could say the arrow is just like an extra bonus annotation and not an actual parent. As long as it's approximately a tree, I'll generally call it a tree. Whereas if it was violating the rules of a tree a lot, then I would want to call it a graph, and graphs are generally more confusing and harder to deal with. So you usually want to stick to one parent per node. But the occasional extra arrow showing some extra relationships is not a big deal. Here's another grammar tree. Here are some arithmetic trees. This one has some philosophy discussion. This is an attempt to summarize and outline critical fallibilism. More grammar. This tree shows people who interacted with each other and shows degree of separation to me. This one is especially messy. Here's a very small tree. This one's about how to think. This one is about objectivism and counter-arguments and counter-counter-arguments. More grammar. This is a paragraph tree about how the sentences in a paragraph are organized and fit together. It compares my tree on the left to one and be made on the right. This one is about paths forward, a philosophical concept I developed. The color coding helps you see different sections of the tree. Here's another grammar tree. These are useful because understanding what you read is really, really important to being a good philosopher or thinker or debater. This one is the state of the debate for critical rationalism. It covers a bunch of different critics and then has responses to them. This one was a critique of someone's comments in a discussion. It has a kind of interesting structure. You can't read the words. It's too zoomed out, but you can see these yellow branches off to the side repeatedly. I think what's going on there is we have the discussion. The discussion goes kind of like this, and then I have these commentary branches periodically when I want to talk about some part of the discussion. Grammar. This is another tree from a discussion. I was trying to show why stuff someone said didn't make a lot of sense, show their errors in a debate. This one is debating with Peter Singer. This one's about finishing projects. This one was made with different software. This is from a debate on Discord. This is trying to organize some ideas again. This is a paragraph tree. Each box has a sentence, and the aqua nodes in between explain the relationships between the sentences. This is an outline of some of my philosophy. And here's another outline. When something's difficult, I often like to make multiple trees. I'll try something, and then just start over and try again, and I'll keep doing that as long as they're coming out different, as long as I'm coming up with some different ideas each time that can be useful. This is a paragraph tree again, but each sentence is an actual sentence tree. It shows how you can have trees within trees. As a whole, this is one tree. You can also look at specific parts of it and see subtrees. To learn more, watch some of my other videos, and check out the links in the description.